So this is another video of Andrew Tate talking about why Britain has become a third world nation. So let's see what this entertaining character has to say.
The UK just deserves to lose. I mean, let's be honest. Keir, Macron, and that German dipshit, whatever his name is, they all got caught sniffing coke on a train on the way out of a hooker party in Ukraine yesterday after promising Ukraine hundreds of billions of dollars while the UK falls apart. That should be the end of a politician. Think about that. That should be the end of a politician. What's going to happen? How many protests are there? Who cares? So, does the UK deserve what's coming to it? Maybe all is fair in the end. Maybe it's universal justice, yin and yang. Maybe if I were to take time out of my life to fix the place, knowing I could, they would resist me tooth and nail to the end, to the point where they deserve what's coming. Because what's coming to the UK? Everybody with a brain has left. Everybody who's rich has left. What's coming? What's coming is a third world nation. Because all the money's leaving and third worlders keep turning up. That ends one way. The UK is about to become a third world country. It is relying on its reputation alone. It's like the tough guy who used to be able to fight in the bar, but he's a bit old now, you know? But they're like, but back in the day, he was rough. I'm like, he doesn't look rough anymore. I can name countries who nobody gives a shit about, but are far more influential and powerful than the UK. I guarantee you, if the UK were to go to Mongolia, you'd say, Mongolia. UK is better than Mongolia. Mongolia's got like one city and it's all just desert steppe, and who gives a shit what Mongolia thinks? Do you think the Mongolians give a single fuck what the UK thinks? Really? Actually? They talk about stupid things like GDP figure. But the UK's GDP. Moving pieces of paper in a banking sector is not GDP. That's not real. What's real is the capability for violence and growing food and building things and manufacturing. That's all real. You know, a factory has to make this cup, and a man has to shoot that gun, and a farmer has to grow that food. That's real. The city of London moving a piece of paper from here to there for gold that doesn't exist so they can fucking vamoose the fiat currency system and then say, look, we increased the GDP. That's not real. That's just enriching the rich people who are behind all the political parties anyway. Forget GDP. I don't think UK ambassadors go anywhere outside of Europe, and anybody gives a shit about anything they say. If I was the leader of Peru or Brazil or Argentina, anywhere in Latin America, if I was the leader of any African nation, if I was the leader of these countries and they were to say, the UK delegates here. All right, sit down. Hi. Well, we think this, and this. I'd literally just be sitting there thinking, I don't give a shit what you think. Who the fuck even are you? You're a dump. You're a tiny little shithole country. You haven't even got a navy anymore. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to send a BBC reporter here? Oh, no. Fuck England. America can still, project force, at least. China still makes all your stuff. You don't want to piss the Chinese off, because the Chinese are smart. You piss the Chinese off, they'll be like, okay, no problem. I'm like, all right, see, I got away with it. 6 months later, you have no semiconductors. Like, shit, we have no electricity, you know? But pissing the UK off, what's going to happen? You're going to lose a bank account. UK's done. It's over. And they're not smart enough to sit down and say, okay, we are actually done. How do we fix this? They don't want to do that. They just want to say, okay, well, let's just keep a lid on it for our few years in power. Let's go to Ukraine to snort coke and fuck hookers. Let's steal as much money as possible. We've only got a few years at it anyway. Then it's someone else's fault. And it's just kicking the bucket down the line. And the person who lives in their house, which they've worked so hard for.
Okay, so it's hard to actually argue with any of the points he's making here. The thing I do have an issue with is the way he refers to the UK as it's one entity, because it's not. It's rapidly becoming separate groups of people with specific views within the UK. So balkanizing philosophically, maybe you could say it like that. That's what I see. So I think he's wrong to just write off the UK. Oh, well, it's done. It's all over. I mean, it may seem like that. It seems to me that the UK is going the way of South Africa for the same reason, but demographically, it's in a very different situation. And the trends, from what I see, the trends are that people are slowly waking up and coming to terms with what's really going on and slowly starting to push back. It's very hard for people because they've been lied to for generations. It's like trying to explain to someone who's believed a particular religion for their whole life that maybe that they're wrong. You know, you're asking them to question the entirety of their life and probably the narrative they've built their life around. So that's what you're dealing with. But the reality is that you don't need that many people to actually take action. And I don't mean violence. I think violence would be the last thing you want. I think if you have, I don't know what the number is, but I think it's pretty well understood, sort of 3 to 5% of the population actively refuse to comply. I think the whole system will collapse pretty quickly. Because the UK government doesn't represent the people. That's quite obvious, and it's ever more working against the people's interests, and that's becoming more and more obvious. I mean, you can't get more obvious than prioritising the interests of illegal invaders, because that's what they are. You can't get more obvious than prioritising their interests over the native Brits. You know, why would you do that unless you've got some kind of wish to destroy the country? I mean, there's obviously an agenda there, and I think people just find it very hard to accept that could have happened. You know, it's hard for me to accept because it's like I feel like this has happened on my generation's watch. You know, we've allowed it to happen because we've just taken so many things for granted. I mean, I haven't lived in the UK since 2001, and funny enough, now I one of the things I do is help people who are leaving to set up in Eastern Europe, because that's what I did when I left. I just made a new life in Eastern Europe, so I know a great deal about doing that. So that's what I help people do, among other things. Anyway, I'll carry on listening to this guy and see what else he's got to say.
They've dedicated their life to paying that mortgage. They're stuck in that house, stuck amongst the crime, the drugs, the bullshit. They're fucked. I'm lucky. I'm rich. I leave. You can leave.
The point he's making here about mortgages, of course, it's a huge subject in its own right. I mean, if you didn't have this usury-based system with loans secured on property, which should be a crime, it should be illegal, you wouldn't have such ridiculous property prices. But you know, one of the ways to solve the property price issue and inflation issue in the UK is to kick out all these people that are sponging off the system. It's obvious that that's what needs to happen, but it's not quite so obvious how the government are going to be forced to make it happen.
A lot of people can't leave.
Yeah.
And those are the people who have to finally stand up and say, no, that's enough of this. We need actual leadership and people who actually care about us.
Is Brother serious political party?
Yes. I will be Prime Minister of the UK unless they kill me by the time I'm 50. I'll give it 10 years. Let's let Nigel try first. I don't want to steal momentum from reform.
He's very funny at this point because obviously nobody is going to vote this guy into being Prime Minister of the UK because he's not smart enough and he's not articulate enough. His brother, maybe. I think his brother is the brains of the operation.
I could run now. Of course, they're using legal cases to try and keep me out of the UK, but I'm not scared of it. I'll go UK, make bail, or get remanded. Don't give a shit. Don't care. You'll send me a letter, won't you?
Of course.
Thank you. We're going to let Nigel run first. I don't want to steal thunder from him. After Nigel runs, when it's still fucked, because Nigel's not going to be militant enough, I'll come along and do it properly. We will do a mass recruitment drive for the military. I will double all military wages. We'll get the money from removing all asylum-seeking bullshit and all foreign aid. The military will be one of the highest paid public service jobs that you're ever going to see anywhere on the planet. We're going to recruit huge numbers of soldiers. We're going to put them on the street and we're going to fix everything.
Yeah, that's all very nice, pal. How are you going to do it exactly? Because it matters, you see, because now you're just starting to sound like a politician. You need to be talking about our common law system and how it's being used it's being used against us. You know, that's what's happened to the Brits. Their goodwill and good nature has been completely turned around and used against them. So it's not quite so simple. There's plenty. There's a handful of British politicians you can hear talking about this. They're interviewed and they're completely. They don't have solutions because they don't know how to solve these issues because they're too big and it's too ingrained. I think the only way you do it is by motivating a lot of single individuals to take action and providing them the tools to take action and the knowledge. It's an education thing, and that's happening because for all his faults, most of what Andrew Tate is saying when it's not stupid shit is actually correct to some degree. I mean, if you look at what he's describing here, it's kind of similar to what Bukele in El Salvador has done. I mean, exactly that, and the results are very obviously very good. I mean, the murder rate and the crime rates drop through the floor because they've locked up all the violent criminals. It's amazing. Who would have known that if you take all the violent criminality off the streets, the violence and crime stops? I mean, it's astounding. Who would have known that? That was the end of that then. So, I mean, not much to disagree with there are the points he makes. But once again, he makes all these claims and says that he's going to do this, that, and the other, and how he'd solve it. But anybody can say we'll solve these things. The biggest challenge in the UK is you've got so much division, and I've seen this myself within my own family. I've got people in my own family people I respect and trust, and likewise friends who you can show them black and white evidence at this point, and the more obvious it is, the more upset they seem to get about you pointing it out. They seem to get angry that you pointed it out, and they don't have any counter argument. They just get angry and get annoyed with you and block you on social media or whatever. So, anyway, there you go.